Question: superannuation, our war chest for retirement. What are we ranked in the world? We're going to shock you today. Stay tuned. We're talking about super.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Good morning.
What? I can't tell you how excited I am to talk about super.
I'm the shocked agent. I'm witnessing things I've never witnessed before.
With what?
With people buying property. People buying property, as simple as it sounds. This is truly quite amazing what people are doing with, in my opinion, fairly achievable small amounts of money to get together, particularly when it's for savings. I know people are conscious of 10, 11, 12% of their wage being locked away, but in some ways it's good because it allows you, if you can use that money, to purchase a property with no distractions.
Absolutely. Now we're going to take you back to the good old days when super was incepted in 1992. The Hawke government turned around and said, "We're going to make every Australian pay your employer pay part of your total earnings is going to be percentage is going to be contributed to." Your retirement, you won't be able to access it to 65, whatever the rules were. And here we are today. Now, Billy's going to give the nugget away early. We don't normally do this. Huh?
It's true. We normally save this till last. But before we give the nugget, can I just show you what people have got in their super accounts? The average Joe, the average Australian.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to be in awe, shocked and amazed when we tell you where we rank in the world with our superannuation war chest. You're going to be shocked. It's a lot of money, but let's talk about it individually then. Okay, Billy Bob, go. Tell us.
Okay, have a quick look. So let me get rid of this one. This is I think a 2021 report. So a couple of years old now, from ABS. But
can you give me zoom?
Yeah, you want it at the top? We've got age. We've got male, female, greater than 18, but sort of less than that 18 to 24 is the top sort of two rows. 7,000.
Can you zoom up on that?
Yeah, I can, but you might not see it.
Nah. Yeah, no, I can't see it. Okay, cool.
Not very good. But let's just go down the list, because what I think is really interesting, and we spoke about this on one of the other episodes, is the engine room of your career. So basically from your mid-20s to say your late 40s, 50s, that's when people are in the engine room, locked away career-wise, at their best part of their income career, and starting to get some really good savings. I think that's quite exciting, because if you're active in your super and you're trying to buy property, invest, it's you can see quite a considerable amount of cash. So that $7,000 turns to 11, turns to 20, turns to 50, to 100, to nearly 200. By the time you're moving into retirement, have a look at this, Mark. There's nearly $500,000 of super sitting there.
Shit. I want to talk about my big numbers. I've been excited about the big numbers.
Yeah, go. What are the big numbers?
You ready? Is everyone ready? Okay. Can we get rid of those numbers?
How does Australia place in the big numbers?
I can't see that. Okay, you ready for this? In Australia, in total dollars for our superannuation, we have... Hang on a second. Let me put this into perspective. $10 trillion in Australian property. $10 trillion in Australian property.
Yep.
$10 trillion. Gonna get better. We have in debt just under $3 trillion in debt. Stock market, ASX value, just under $3 trillion.
Right?
In superannuation in Australia, as of a year ago, we have $3.5 trillion in our super.
It's a lot of money. It's a huge amount when
So
you
to
look
give,
at other
to
asset
give you an
classes.
idea, it's bigger than our ASX. To give you an idea, it can cancel out our debt, our national debt. To give you an
Yep.
idea, Australians are ranked with our superannuation war chest of $3.5 trillion. We have the fourth biggest war chest in the world for retirement,
Amazing.
and we are less than 1% of the population of the world. We are 0.4% of the population. So I'll say it again for anyone who's struggling with these numbers, because I really struggled with these numbers. There's 10 trillion in Australian property.
Mhm.
There's something like 2.8 trillion in debt, in terms of
Yep.
household debt with mortgages and stuff like that. So we're in debt to about 30% Australian property value. So we're quite lowly geared. There's the stock market is circa $3 trillion, but in Australian super, we have been saving since 1992 and investing in that since 1992. We are sitting on a war chest of $3.5 trillion in super.
Yeah, it's staggering. Amazing numbers. What are you seeing though? What are people doing with it?
Well, people are feeling guilty. People are feeling avant-garde. They're feeling like they're not doing what mum and dad did, because mum and dad didn't have these opportunities. So what people feel like they should be doing is they feel like they should be buying an investment unit, a little 1 bedroom, little 2 bedroom in their name, and they're going, this is real hard.
Yep.
But what they're not realizing is they're losing 10% of which was 9.25. Now it's 10.25. It's going up to 12% in 2025. They're losing 10% of their total income to their retirement, which is such well spent money, because it just means when our kids retire and when people are retiring, they're going to be, the government's not in trouble having to support people that aren't working. These guys are pretty well funded. The grey nomads are going to be sitting on cash.
$500,000 to be exact. At this rate, if you're 75 or more, you can expect
Yeah.
the average is about $500,000. So it is impressive. What
That's
I really
cash. What you invested in is even more exciting.
Yeah, true. What excites me is for the people that are doing, bits actively in their super before they retire. It's in a completely separate name. So if you're, setting up a self-managed super and you're buying and borrowing in your self-managed super, it's completely separate to your personal name. So it doesn't get in the way of you, achieving your personal sort of goals. If you want to buy a property for yourself, you could be a first-time buyer. You want to be an investor, do that, and you can.
Now, we're not giving advice though.
No, but it's exciting.
We sat there the other night, and we opposite an accountant. And by the way, if you want to get this, we had an investor night the other night. If you SMS the number 0460 111 111, do you want to write that on there on the comments, Bill? 0460 111 111. If you SMS the word smart, you'll get our notes from the night and you'll get our video from the night. And Billy, I like what you're saying. This is what the accountant was telling us the other night in relation to super and the mortgage broker, that it wasn't going to affect our lending, our personal lending so if you're wishing to upgrade your family home, they actually don't look at the debt that you're holding in your super. So I thought when the accountant told us that I found that real interesting, because
Yeah.
I always thought, people think, oh, we can't afford to borrow $500,000 because we want to make improvements to our home and borrow some money, but the accountant was saying that there's that complete separation. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool.
Shocking for me.
Yep. Sure, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. A lot of people are like, wow.
But yeah,
Um,
it's low hanging
and
fruit. I think it's
it's
doable.
it's big, and I think that people have to get used to it, because they're not used to it. So didn't see mum and dad buying an investment saw mum and dad buying an investment 1-bedroom unit in DY, and they think that's what they got to do, and then they feel guilty because they haven't or can't. But I think what people have to get adjusted to is super is a war chest. It is there. We're starting to see buyers come out buy storage units for 198,000 with their super. We're starting to see people come out and buy, particularly with off the plan, because it's not ready for sort of 2-3 years, so they can put more into their super. And then we're starting to see people buy warehouses and residential units. We're starting to see people borrow money from banks in their super, so they're laying down $100,000 and they're borrowing, say, $100,000 in their super. So this is a fundamental change that I'm seeing in the Australian property market, and I was trying to understand why we're not being rocked harder by interest rates as a country. And then when you understand we've had 13 rate rises, and when you understand we've had 13 months of rate rises and 13 months of property growth, I think when you look at our overall balance sheet of an Australian economy and having that $3.5 trillion sitting there in super, it's actually normalised, stabilised, and made Australia great again.
We've got questions. I
Yes.
completely agree. Some of these things are they sound like a foreign language, but when you sit down with a good accountant, they'll talk you through it simple terms. How do you take money from your super and buy a property? Easy terms.
Okay. You don't just talk to your accountant. You talk to someone who's pro what you're pro about, because I find that sometimes people get sandbagged by their accountant because their accountant's sometimes not qualified to give the advice out, and they go, oh, no, you can't do it. The person really wanted to do it. So I think talk to someone who's done it first. Ask family and friends about and see who's done it. Talk to their advisors who they did it with. Talk to your accountant, and yeah, just I think get familiar with it. But first thing is, if you hit that SMS, that was an accountant chatting about it the other night on the investor night that we ran, and there's all the slides are in there and everything for that. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's the real life webinar we did. Little presentation and the slides. There you go. That's the show.
Go super.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good week. Have a good day. And Bill, thanks for your financial advice.
Not at all. Thank you for your.
It wasn't financial advice. See you guys. Take care.